Hello, hi. It is day 59 of lockdown. I don't normally sing that, but that's the thing I did there.
What date does that make it?
That makes it
the 18th?
The 18th of May.
Monday the 18th, which means I will be on your television screens / iPlayer in just 4 more days. That will be on Friday night.
Friday, which is the 22nd?
11:15 on the 22nd.
Yeah,
yes,
lovely.
Doing some lovely stand-up.
That is if you are in Wales, on BBC Wales at 10:15. But if you're not in Wales, you can still watch it on iPlayer. So, yeah, we're going to be watching that. And there's also some, as well as Chris obviously being brilliant on that, there's a bunch of other people who are also really good. So it's going to actually, they fit in quite a lot of people. So I think it's going to be quite punchy, lots of stuff.
Fire, yes. No flab.
No flab whatsoever. So, looking forward to that.
Yeah, there's brilliant people on that. But before we get on with anything else, though, Ellie, I need to make a bit of a confession to everyone.
Okay.
What it is, I actually broke lockdown rules today, and I went for a little drive to the beach. Got a bit of a suntan, and it's worse than you think as well, because not only are we not supposed to drive for exercise in Wales, but also I don't drive and I don't have a licence or a car, so it's not just breaking lockdown rules, I also stole a car and drove without a licence, which I realised I shouldn't have done. But I was feeling a bit shut in, and I thought I'd get away with it, but then I caught the sun a bit, and I've got this lovely sort of natural
Nobody is buying that, mate.
It's lovely natural...
look at that.
Lovely natural...
What a fucking state that is.
Lovely natural tan that I've caught, so...
You look like an Oompa-Loompa.
Right.
But I will say, for the record, he doesn't look quite that colour in person.
No.
But he doesn't look like he's got a natural fucking tan.
I've got a lot of fake tan on. I didn't do it thinking it would look really great. Right, that was never the intention. I'm naturally pale. I don't think I particularly suit a tan necessarily anyway. I'm not fussed about having a tan, and also
I did discover when I was doing your makeup the other day, I didn't think you were as pale as me, so I used a foundation that I can't use because it's a little too dark on me, and then I did notice on camera you looked a little dark. So actually I think you are as pale as me, but you've got the old rosy cheeks that hide it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a sort of sentence I never expected you to have to... I did notice when I was doing your makeup the other day, but...
I hope somebody watches this who didn't watch that. And they're like, what?
Photos I've put them on Instagram.
Yeah.
I have had a lot of compliments. I really.
Well, I'm going to take them as compliments to me as well, because it was my handiwork. So
it's my face though, still.
Yeah, but I made it pretty.
I'm a pretty girl.
You are a pretty girl.
I
think that was one of our most popular blogs as well.
I really genuinely like getting all the compliments.
I know, isn't it nice?
I think there's there's about 15% of me that thinks, wouldn't it be nice if I could just glam up and go out like that for a night out at the pub and it not be a big deal, or people think it was a lifestyle choice or whatever. If I could just do, if that was just normal that everyone did.
I'm all for it. But a bit of guy liner. Yeah.
There is about 85% of me that's just like, oh,
I do not have that. Well, that was exaggerated makeup. If you were actually just going to go out, being a bloke wearing, I wouldn't put foundation on you, probably. Or I might do a little bit because you do have quite rosy cheeks. So I might just do a dusting of powder rather than a full face of foundation. But yeah, just because I wouldn't actually do eyeshadow on you. What I would have done if you're just going out would be just eyeliner and maybe a bit of mascara so that your eyelashes sort of really define your eyes. And maybe a bit of lipstick because your lips were quite nice.
They were quite nice.
But look at you.
Really liked it. But
yeah, because you took some pictures afterwards in sans wig and in wig. I think actually the ones without the wig are better because I think you just sort of. You look like you just sort of taking your time, doing what, just selfies for Instagram, and what I like it. I've got a thing for men in makeup though. I think Eddie Izzard did that to me. But yeah, I think he looked like, I think when I first sort of started getting into stand up and I saw Eddie, I think Eddie Izzard was probably the first time I'd seen a man just openly wearing makeup that wasn't part of a stage show, or it wasn't sort of part of a play or anything, and he was just wearing makeup because he was just wearing makeup, other than sort of things in the 70s and stuff, but of people that I was watching that were part of my culture. And I remember thinking, he's quite fit. And I just think you're missing a trick, because the reason we wear makeup obviously is it exaggerates what we've got and gives just a bit of definition. So when you do that to men who don't normally do that, it's suddenly making you go, ooh, look at those eyes, ooh, look at those lips, and it's nice. I think it's quite fit. And also it does kind of suggest a fair amount of swagger, that you're quite confident and comfortable. Takes balls, ironically.
So there you go. And
I've just noticed you've got like a white patch just in your
my hairline.
in your hairline.
Well, what I was trying to say, and we got derailed by talking about how pretty I am,
Yeah.
which this
It looks like you've got jaundice.
the evidence of this does not support how pretty I am, does it? But what I was trying to say is, it looks really green and sickly on camera here, and I don't know why. Because in person, like I never put it on. We did it for like a sketch. I never did it thinking it was going to look great, but in person, it does at least look like brown.
It looks like you've spent too long on a sunbed in person. It does look tan, maybe slightly shinier than maybe just a tan would, and I guess that's because there's oil in it and stuff. But like,
it is not like sickly green. Like I do not know what has happened to this, and it's quite unpleasant to look at. And I can only apologise, guys. And I don't know how.
That could be our screen mind. It might be okay recording.
Maybe.
So yeah, it might be.
Crossed, maybe it looks brilliant for everyone else.
Well, that might be a stretch.
And we did it, like I said, we did it for a sketch that we've filmed, which is going to be going out very shortly.
Yeah, I filmed that today. I was still fairly shit at remembering my lines, but I think I was better than last time, and also I think I got less tense about it than I did last time. I was getting very frustrated with myself last time. I used to be so good at learning lines. I could just turn around a script really quickly, and today, fuck it.
Well, it's another topical one, so we try to get it filmed as quickly as possible, and we'll get it edited as soon as possible. We'll probably try and get that out tomorrow. But the thing, I found myself, I was in the bathroom. You have to have a shower, make sure you're like clean and things before you put the tan on. I was in the bathroom just applying fake tan
Beauty
to
tips
myself
from chopping,
and just imagining what my granddad, like, because I can't do this. Is what I'm doing now. I'm making these sketches because I can't go out and do stand up. So this is basically my job now.
Nobody's paying us.
I mean, no, but like,
tip us the price of a coffee.
We set up a coffee account. We're trying, and actually, I'm being, the first one we did, we got an interview with the British Comedy Guide off the back of it.
Yeah, that's true.
Can't hurt. So
hustling.
But I was just imagining, like, if my granddad could see me, like if he came out of the mines with his face kind of ironically kind of black with coal, going, oh, so you're just sort of smearing all stuff on you, you're doing just for a lot. This is what you call work, is it? This is what you do for a living. And then his next question would probably be, and why? And in this hypothetical scenario you've painted, why have you got me coming out of a mine?
I wasn't a miner.
I wasn't a miner. I wasn't the sort of hypothetical. I wasn't the sort of stereotypical judgmental old man that you've painted in this picture at all. Nonsense. But
so just like if a generic granddad could see you now, he wouldn't be impressed.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, we used to work in the pit. It were back-breaking labour, and now you pouncing around with your makeup on. That's what
What accent is that meant to be?
Scandinavian.
Nailed it. Nailed it. So guess what, guys? We're going to talk about Keir Starmer!
Yeah! It's the Keir Starmer episode you've been waiting for.
Basically, we've probably massively overblown it, but there was just a couple of stories which possibly weren't big enough that we made them the main focus several times in a row. But we kind of just want to mention them.
Did we?
No, they kept being like, when we look at our little notes of things we want to talk about, they just kept in our heads while we're filming going, yeah, that can wait. But there's a few things going on, or have gone on with Keir Starmer, that I do think are worth a mention. So we'll start with, I think, like a bit of positive stuff, like if you are a Labour voter or at least on that side of the fence, which is that actually I've been pretty impressed with how he's been doing in PMQs. As I've said many moons ago when the leadership candidate was announced, he wasn't who I voted for. I am a Labour member and I put my vote in. I don't hate him, but he just wasn't my top choice. But actually, he is doing a really good job. The shame about that is nobody actually watches PMQs other than people who've already made their mind up anyway. But it is good to see him sort of, rather than sort of being too emotive and too big and exaggerated about anything, I think his background as a barrister, a top level barrister at that, really shows, because he just picks apart what's being said and has done his homework and backs up what he says, and he's done his homework basically. He's got the facts so he can ask the question, and then when he is up against Boris on the rare occasions when he actually takes Prime Minister's question time, he bumbles about and he can't answer and he fucks it up basically because the facts just don't back him up.
there's a few good points that he nailed him on.
Yeah.
Two in particular kind of stood out for me. First of all, he sort of said, well, what are people supposed to do? You're encouraging people back to work, and what if bosses say, well, you've got to come back to work, and people don't have childcare or support for that?
Which might be why they're
And,
trying to open schools.
But and he said, well, workplaces and managers are going to have to be understanding, which is just there's no policy. They're just going, oh, sort it out yourselves. And
well,
Boris
it's just shifting blame to anybody else. Because then if employers do decide to sack people, then that's just nasty employers. And if people decide not to go to work and they lose their jobs, oh, well, that's just because you weren't working hard enough. And it's just all very much like
it's
shifting blame.
Responsibility. Well, Boris Johnson worked in a graduate scheme for a week. After getting his degree, and then he quit because it was boring. And since then he's been in like politics and dabbled in kind of journalism and stuff, but he's never really...
But even in journalism he never did his fucking homework, did he? He just made shit up.
But he's never had the sort of job where you
Not libel. He did just make shit up, got fired for it.
True. But he's never had the sort of job that you have to kind of clock in and kind of work 9 to 5, and if you don't turn up, and if you don't, and you're not getting paid, do you know, he's not had a regular normal job, like, ever really.
No.
So I just don't think he has the understanding of what it's like.
No.
But the other thing that Keir Starmer kind of...
There's a cat meowing.
Very distracted by a meowing cat.
Shall I pause? We'll pause and deal with the cat. Right, 1, 2, 3, pause! And we've unpaused. Cat is now eating.
So the second thing that Keir Starmer did a good job of is that the government, every day at their briefings, was sort of showing on a graph how we were doing against the other parts of the world in terms of COVID-19 deaths and infection rate and things. And the minute we kind of took over sort of everywhere else in the world apart from America, those graphs went away. And Keir Starmer was saying, well, why? What the infection rate? Why have you stopped telling people that? Where have the graphs gone? And Boris Johnson's response was to go, well, it is, we can't...
It's not helpful to make international comparisons.
No, it's too soon to kind of read anything into that. Those statistics are kind of premature.
Yeah. And he had it, and he went, but you've been using these slides in your daily briefings.
Yeah, like...
This is one of the slides. You've been using those comparisons all the way through this. I think you said for the last 7 weeks. And it's just now
these things are fine for 7 weeks, but now it's too early. Yes. Now they make us look bad.
Yeah.
And he was really caught.
But that's not how things being early works. That the longer time goes on, the more early they become. That's not how that goes. But it was beautiful, and I think it was just after that actually that Boris Johnson criticised Keir Starmer, saying to be calling me out on any small inaccuracies isn't constructive at the moment. Which, if ever that was, don't call me out on my bullshit because I don't like it.
In which case, what are you supposed to do with...
That is exactly what the fucking point of PMQs is.
Yeah, what's he supposed to do with the time otherwise? And also, now is... We really should be calling the government on their bullshit right now, because there's a lot of it, and it's really important because people are dying.
Tsunamis of bullshit coming out of Westminster, there is.
And the thing is, I think, there's been talk of kind of them wanting to bring back the full kind of Parliament and get all the MPs back in.
Yeah, surprisingly, Jacob Rees-Mogg was at the forefront of wanting wanting politicians to go back to Parliament to set an example. I thought, crikey.
Here's the thing about that, though.
Yeah.
It's rumoured, because obviously some MPs have not been keen, understandably, because of social distancing, and, when we criticise the government, we're not talking about all MPs by any means, or anyone in the Parliament, and some of them obviously are not keen to go back because of social distancing and everything else. But the rumour is the reason they want everyone to go back is because then Boris will have his kind of bench to kind of go here.
They don't like how quiet it is in the chamber.
Suddenly very exposed.
Yeah.
And he is exposed, looking like a moron.
Yeah.
Let's pause again so I can let that
out. Yeah, it's quiet in the chamber, and I think one thing that Boris has always been good at is bluster and sort of making it sound convincing, even if he isn't actually really fucking saying anything. He just bumbles along and says the right things with the right tone, because like I said previously, so much of it, right, well, to be absolutely clear, blah, 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 and then he just waffles. That all works when you've got a big crowd of people going, hey, oh, here, behind them, but when it's just him and you're down to just what he's saying and everybody's just stony silent, it shows. Ruth Jones is our local MP in Newport West. she put out she puts out weekly emails to everybody who's a Labour supporter in Newport and anybody on her mailing list, I guess, but she sort of said that she's been obviously attending but via Zoom, and she was sort of saying that you've got to bear in mind most MPs don't live in London, most MPs are around the country, and she just sort of said, personally, I think I welcome doing Parliament this way. This was I think this was on the first day that they'd done a virtual vote, so they'd actually set it up to do it online, because she was like, at the best of times, I don't think it's the most environmentally friendly thing for us all to be using that amount of transport, driving to London all that often, but also right now, if they go back into the Houses of Parliament, that's a lot of people all travelling to London that don't really need to. They've proven that they don't need to. And actually, I think maybe it is time for Parliament to be modernised a bit. Like, we don't, if ever this is like across the whole sort of employment spectrum, this has opened doors to doing things differently. And that's, in a lot of ways, there should be a lot of this that is kept. Like, it's forced us to be innovative and it's forced people to be flexible. But actually, if you do have things like people working from home more, that's much better for the environment. But I think it's also much better for well-being. Even that, if that might be that one day a week you've got to go into the office to do your board meetings or whatever. But it's better for the environment. It's better for employers because they can run hot desks and have smaller premises and rent will be lower. Better for the environment. It's better for people because a few friends of mine who do work from home, and I've previously worked from home. And again, it would be I would go into London. This was back when I lived in London. But if I didn't have to be in town for a meeting, I'd work from home. I would travel in if I had meetings, and then I'd work from the office on those days. But otherwise, I would work from home. And basically, it's lovely because you lose the commute. You also don't have to sort of worry too much about sort of getting dressed and ready for work and all of that. So you don't have to sort of, for women particularly, but for anyone, you're not having to get up super early. Like, so I know people who are on like an hour and a half commute into work. So they were having to get up at like 5 to get into work for 9. And then, but whereas if they work from home, they're getting up at 8, having a cup of tea, having some breakfast, sitting at the desk, getting work done. So they actually find, and I've got some friends who used to work in London that now live up in Manchester that now both work from home, that they're more productive by a long way than they ever were because they find that they still were getting up at about the same time they used to get up to go to work, but they're already at work. So actually, they kind of just start right at it and then will carry on until around about the time that they'd be getting home previously. And because they're not having to sort of faff about, go off to buy themselves lunch and go to coffee shops and things, they're already in their home. They just go downstairs, make themselves some lunch, quite often work at their desk, and actually become more productive anyway. I think there's quite an archaic idea that employers want to see that you're working to check that you're working. But ultimately, it should be based on your output. If your work is getting done, doesn't really matter if it takes you from 9 to 5 to do it, if it's getting done.
And it makes
and maybe we can modernise things. And I think
things a lot more flexible. Like if you've got pets to look after, or if you're choosing to, like if you're trying to look after yourself, you can choose maybe to exercise in the time that you would have been commuting.
Yeah.
That's just time you brought back. Or if you're deciding what you want to eat, maybe it's cheaper or healthier to prepare something quickly at home than to rely on what you can get from a nearby meal deal from a supermarket or what you can take in easily to work.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's overall better, if possible, to let people work from home. There will be slight downsides for certain companies. I guess your Costa Coffees and your Starbucks might lose a little bit of revenue on people grabbing stuff on their way into work, but I'm not going to lose sleep over that. But I think it's better for people's well-being by a long way. So there's lots of things that we've kind of been forced to change, which we should hold on to, I think, and just sort of really look at when we go back to normal, which bits of normal do we want to go back to? And actually, I think increased flexibility is got to be better for everyone. And maybe have the option. So maybe it's like, well, you've got the option. You can work from home if you want to, or you can do it flexibly, work from home 3 days a week in the office too. Hot desk it so you can rent smaller space. I think that's got to be better. So actually, and I think like so many of the sort of practices in Parliament are so archaic, and I think deliberately meant to sort of intimidate real people from going into it, because it just seems, I don't know the rules, I don't understand how it all works. And actually, if we just sort of make it a bit more like it should be. The people, members of parliament should be representatives of the people. But we've lost that. There's too many career politicians, and it's sort of weighted towards the upper classes who probably get the option to take politics as a GCSE in school. We didn't have that option. Yeah, it's just sort of like we can modernise and make things more flexible, which will be better for everyone.
Yes.
There was another Keir Starmer thing that we should mention.
Oh, okay.
Which was it's kind of happened a little while ago now. It's probably 4 or 5 days ago that this all came out. But
I think it's worth mentioning because I think, I mean, it indicates to me that the Tories think Keir Starmer is doing a good job.
I think they're rattled.
Because they already are using underhand tactics to try and undermine him.
No, they're not, are they?
Yes,
they
they're
wouldn't.
trying to smear
Because
and
they were
discredit
so
him.
fair with his predecessor.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically, very underhand tactics because they can't really discredit what he's saying. So they have to discredit who he is. And the trouble is, he seems like he's a fairly stand-up guy. Like, although he's a sir, he's sort of like, that comes across to a lot of people like he's very wealthy and he's one of them. Actually, no, his mum was a nurse, and I can't remember what his dad was, but his dad was sort of he's not come from wealth. He went to state school, did a law degree, did really well, became a top-level barrister. He has done really well to get where he is. So they've started to use their usual tactics. Also, I don't think it helps them that he keeps very calm and measured in the chamber, which I think that's his barrister's sort of training coming into it. But he's just going, okay, well, you've said that, but that contradicts this other thing that you said, and just holding them out on everything rather than allowing them to bluster. But yeah, another thing that they've done, a few different MPs, including old Nadine Dorries, or Doris, I'm not sure how you said.
Okay, she's my parents' local MP,
Yeah,
and she's
a twat.
a bag of twats.
A whole bag of them. Yeah, she recently got a promotion to some minister's position that I'd never heard of. But I think that's in no small coincidence to the fact that she had COVID-19 and can probably give a few sound bites about it. But basically, she's a bit of a twat. But she shared, without checking, there was a bit of footage, and it goes back to work that Keir Starmer did for the Crown Prosecution Service, and it was looking at the child grooming gangs scandal. And he gave an interview talking about it. They very, very carefully edited the footage to make it look like he was saying the exact opposite of what he was actually saying. So they made it look like, essentially, he was victim blaming these children of these child grooming gangs. What he was actually saying was he was criticising where children weren't believed when they came forward. So he was saying the opposite, and he was talking about challenges in bringing these prosecutions forward that shouldn't have happened. So actually, he wasn't saying anything out of order. These three ministers and various right-wing dickheads shared this as though it was fact. Understandably, that didn't, and this is another thing that actually he's doing better than I think Jeremy Corbyn, his predecessor, did quite a lot of rising above it, water off a duck's back, what I say will stand for me, and that should be the case, but unfortunately that isn't the case. People hear the sound bites, and if they don't hear the retort, they assume that was correct. It's not right. I actually think, in terms of as a person, it is better to be the rise above it, but unfortunately as a politician you do sort of have to play the game, and I am probably one of Jeremy Corbyn's biggest fans. I love him. I think he's brilliant. But whereas that was sort of the method previously, Keir Starmer is not pissing around with any of that, just immediately goes, well, that's a libel case, isn't it? Right, lovely. And then basically immediately it was taken down without comment.
Well, this is the thing, right? Because if you or I shared a thing that was defamatory about someone, either you've done that on purpose, in which case that's a dick move and you should probably apologise, or you've done that by mistake and you thought that it was accurate and someone else has doctored that and you've just shared it because you think, oh, this is terrible, I should spread the word. But then it turns out, no, that was inaccurate, and then you've kind of spread that about and it's not even true. You go, oh, sorry, I thought I've made a mistake, but I of course I apologise. Either
Yeah.
way, he'd apologise,
Yeah.
right?
If you're so public and you're a member of the it's a member of the opposition you're talking about, you
But
go, oh shit, that wasn't true.
Is not the policy. If you
No,
are
it's
a
just
Tory
pretend
MP,
it didn't
it's
happen
not.
and hope that the damage has been done, because it was done like over Twitter and things. Their followers don't then see the apology and then
No.
still basically
Well,
think
there
that was
isn't
fact.
an apology.
Exactly. Well, that's what I mean.
So,
So they've still done
Yeah.
the damage. They just had to take it down before it did more damage, but they haven't undone the damage, which is
and they haven't
really.
apologised or
yeah.
anything, which would be the decent thing.
Yeah.
And I want to talk a bit more about Keir Starmer.
Well, I actually have another thing to talk about with Keir Starmer as well. So this really is a Keir Starmer special.
Well, it should be.
Yeah.
It's about time. We've put him offline off. But I just,
I've got another 2 things to say about Keir Starmer, actually.
Well, I've got a couple of things. Right, so very quickly then, I'd just like to say he was only very recently elected, and whenever they have I'm not a Labour Party member. I am a supporter of them, but I'm not a paid up member or anything. But when they have these leadership elections, it's not like a general election, because you've not seen the leaders in kind of the press and things and in interviews. A lot of these people are quite fresh to the public eye.
Yeah, they
You
might
don't
have been like
necessarily-
doing their job quietly, but they've just been a local MP or something usually.
And you don't necessarily know a whole lot about them.
No.
And it's not the case with a general election where you can kind of go, well, it's not about the man, it's about the
party.
or the woman, it's about the party or the policy. With a leadership election, it's very much about the person, and I feel like I'm not very well informed about these people. And I see people on my Facebook going, oh, well, Rebecca Long Bailey is the only choice, Keir Starmer is the worst thing for the party, and other people going, Keir Starmer is the only pragmatic option, Rebecca Long Bailey would be a disaster, and other options are available. And and all these people seem really well informed and really passionate one way or the other, and I don't know, I don't have a clue.
You just have to vote for who I tell you to vote for.
All right, thank you. But so I don't know if he was the best option for the party. I really don't. But all I don't know is we've got him now.
Yeah, that's the thing. We've got him now. We've got to get behind him. But actually, he seems
as though
to be
he's
doing a good
good
job.
job. From what you can tell so far, it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
And one more very quick thing is that after World War II, Winston Churchill, who'd been Prime Minister during wartime, you would think he would be a shoo-in to win the next general election, but instead he was voted out because the people at the time, although they were grateful for what he'd done in wartime, felt that he wasn't the best Prime Minister to lead us forward in peacetime, and the Tory government wasn't the best way to go, and instead we got
big swing to the left with
swing.
Clement Attlee's Labour government and the formation of the welfare state and the NHS.
Which was a good thing. So what I'm saying is, after all this is done, Boris Johnson will try and make out that he's been some sort of hero, and he will try and make out that we owe him something for getting us through this, which, I mean, A, he's done a terrible job, but B, even if he hadn't, we don't owe him anything. We need to look about what's best for all of us in the future.
We owe him shit.
And it is not Boris Johnson.
No.
We know that now. We know that already. We don't need to, other evidence will come to light that will continue to support this argument.
That's the thing, though. No amount of bad things seem to stick to Boris Johnson.
This is what worries me.
Like, I don't understand. Like, other politicians, even other Tory politicians, have been destroyed by what would be one of the scandals against. Like, for example, John Major had an affair with Edwina Currie. End of career, basically. Well, we know that Boris Johnson's had a ton of careers. He's got illegitimate children. He doesn't even know quite how many, or he won't admit how many children he's got. He's lied. He's been sacked from Parliament for lying. He's been sacked from jobs for lying. Nothing sticks. Everyone's just like, oh, it's all Bojo. Never mind. I wouldn't mind going for a pint with him.
I mean, because I've been watching his daily briefings thing as well, and I've given it a fair go. But I have to say, like, I preferred his earlier, funnier stuff.
Yeah, me too.
But I like it's like I say, Winston Churchill, he had done some great things for the country, but the electorate were well read and informed, and they thought about what they wanted for the future, and they didn't just kind of vote blindly out of gratitude or kind of fear or whatever. And I just worry that we don't have that as a society anymore. But
this one might be a bit of a game changer, because decisions are being made now that affect
it's just how
everybody.
I just worry about how they spin it afterwards to make it sound like, oh no, we got you through this, and you kind of it will be. They won't say it in this many words, but it will be made kind of like, oh, you kind of owe us one. Like
Yeah.
we got you through this, and we looked after you. And
Yeah,
you need
well,
to make it
we'll see how well they come out of
but
it.
you had more Keir Starmer points.
Well, yeah. One is just a very fleeting one, but it's just an interesting little tidbit. But Helen Fielding, who wrote Bridget Jones, I believe it's Helen Fielding, I think that was the author's name. She is alleged to have based the character of Mark Darcy on Keir Starmer, which I can see. Human rights barrister, lawyer thing. And I can sort of see it, because actually I could sort of see Keir Starmer. If he had a better voice, I think I could see it.
What does he sound like?
Well, a little nasal, I find him. But yeah, he has got a bit of a sort of Colin Firth look about him.
Wouldn't it be great if you could get Keir Starmer just played by Colin Firth against Boris Johnson? Like, I saw that show Quiz, which was the TV dramatisation of the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire
was it good?
scandal.
I wanted to watch that.
Oh, what? It's still on there, I think. It's really good. I'd recommend it.
Love a bit of Michael
But the
Sheen.
guy who played the Major in it was just that little bit more better looking than the real Major. Just
better looking.
Just that little bit better looking than the real Major. No offence to the real Major, but just a little bit better looking, a little bit more charming and charismatic. And it's just one of those things where it's really unfair, but I think if that actor had actually been the Major in real life, more people would have believed him. Do you know what I mean? And it's really sad. It's not it should be run, but I think if Colin Firth played Keir Starmer, I'd be a lot more confident for our chances in the next general election.
I'd enjoy that.
All right.
Sorry.
He's not going to play him like wet. He's not going to turn up in Parliament like he's just been swimming in a river in one of those. Wet...
in Pride and Prejudice.
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking about that. Right, the other story is, I'll be very fleeting because actually we're over time. In fact, I'll keep it as a tidbit for tomorrow.
I can think of things.
And also I want to tomorrow talk about a little puppet update, which is a good puppet update.
Yes.
But actually tomorrow might be a better day for that anyway, because tomorrow is vet day.
And schools.
So yeah, there's a little list of things to talk to you tomorrow, and also hopefully you'll be able to then maybe watch the filming that this face was for. He's willing to make sacrifices for his art, but I am actually the one that has to look at it, and that is permanent.
Yeah.
So, well, semi-permanent. Then none of them are permanent, are they?
I can't wait to watch this back on like another screen and check if I look this weird and green on alls.
Weird and green. Right, okay, so guys, that's it for tonight. Like and subscribe. There's no shame in it.
There's no shame in it.